Are you looking for a podcast where you can hear from real people regarding their real dental drama? If so, then you've come to the right place. Join hosts Bethany Petty and Dr. Reena Kuba as we dive into the solutions we've created and the mistakes we've made while managing dental drama. Let's get started.
Hello, everybody. So here we are back in our fancy office, i.e. Bethany's shoe closet. I think we have a video on
Facebook that shows our lovely domain here.
Yeah, so if you haven't checked that out, it's definitely something fun to take a look at.
Color coordinate my clothes for the next video so it looks a little better.
So all of that to say, we want to reiterate how real this is. And so I arrived this morning to Bethany's home about 45 minutes ago. Okay. And I never know what topics we're going to talk about. And I had a couple of meetings this week with the team. So I was updating Bethany on those meetings. And as I was babbling away, we both just looked at each other and we're like, why didn't we hit record? Because this would be a good podcast topic. And so I don't know what you had planned for us to talk about today, but
we're going to do this instead.
Yes, I called an audible and said, is that even a...
Yeah.
appropriate term to use here?
Absolutely.
I called an audible and I said, Bethany, let's talk about this because we are literally have spent the last 30 minutes just me updating you.
Yes.
And I do think it's pretty relevant to listeners right now. At least I hope it is. I hope it's not just me going through this. And so the topic title, which again, you're going to title it whatever you want to title it. But for me, it's, does your tree still make fruit? Or, is it worth watering your tree? Is the end result going to be fruitful, literally? And so let's start talking about this, and then y'all will hopefully figure out where we're going with this.
What tree you're referring to.
Right. And so, of course, the trees are our team. And I think we'll dive in here, but the issue I was faced with here recently, and when I say recently, the past month or two or three, at least it's been more of a focus in my mind. If y'all have listened to the other podcasts, I'm always scared of a team member leaving, and do we grow, but then are we going to have the staff to support that? And then also the topic of, is this the right team member? We've all heard the analogy of, is this the right team member on your bus? But in this climate especially, I don't really care if you're on the right bus or not. I need a warm body because it's so hard to find. But then do I really need the warm body? So it's been that kind of season, I guess I would say. So the challenge I've been facing the last couple of weeks is, we're going to have several out on maternity leave. Of course, why not?
Yeah.
Why not? All the COVID babies, it seems like everybody was maybe stuck inside for a while. Was it Snowmageddon? What was it? That now suddenly everybody's having babies. And so add that to the mix of the fun of being shorthanded and all of that. So I guess for me, my question was, do I need to add more trees to my
garden?
Yeah,
orchard.
More plants here. Yeah. Or do I have... So... Yeah, I'm babbling here. Guide me.
And I kind of want to lead into this with what actually precipitated our conversation today. So we've talked about this in the past. We've got remote workers. And now that I even say that, I'm like, we've alluded to it. I don't know that we've really dug into the fact that you have these remote workers. Whole nother podcast topic. But we've got a remote worker. She's a Friday only person that used to work in the office full time as a front desk team member. Moved to be with family over on the East Coast, and we were like, we can't lose her. And so we created a remote position. She ended up working remotely for a while, ended up doing an in-person office there on the East Coast, but we were able to retain her or bring her back actually on Fridays to help us primarily with answering the phones because Friday is a busier day for us. So she will periodically come back and work a day in the office just to kind of stay acclimated. And she came back recently. And so as you alluded to, we've kind of had some issues that we've been trying to work through for a few months now. And more or less, we know there's some issues, but we also feel like we're trying to take little bitty steps at it. But she came in and worked with the front desk team that day. And fill me in on what she said after that.
Yes. So to clarify even more, she worked with us in the office for about a year, had moved from the East Coast, and then had decided to go back to the East Coast. And the reason she had moved to Dallas was she's got family here as well. So more immediate family on the East Coast, and then some cousins and aunts and uncles in Dallas. So she decided to move back, and then she worked for us remotely for about another 10 months or so. And then she found an office there that she really was kind of missing the in-person interactions. And we were at a point really where we kind of were heavy in staffing, and she was probably one that it made sense because she wasn't in the office physically. So it was like a mutual parting, and a very pleasant parting. Well, probably this summer, I would say, where we were getting busier. And we kind of were like, who can help with this and that? And we thought, well, hey, this person on the East Coast, like, I don't know if she works, what her schedule's like, but if she could help at all. And because it was a mutual parting, the team loved her, she loved us. I said, let me just reach out to her and see what happens. So I did. I said, hey, if you ever have days that you're not working, I don't know what your schedule's like. And she said, yes, I would love to. So we, it just, again, worked very well. So on Fridays, she helps us answer phones, and really some holidays that their office is closed that she's able to. So every month she kind of tells us her schedule for the next month and what days she can help us with. Even to the point where we've kind of said, hey, if you ever need more pay, could you do these other things remotely in the evenings or on the weekend? And she may not be in the position to do that. Anyway, I'm sidetracking here. So she actually was going to be in Dallas to visit her other family. And we said, hey, do you want to come in and physically be in the office? And so she sent us an email, and even an hour of being into the office, I guess she went to some of the team leads and said, what is going on in this front desk? It's very chaotic. It's very disorganized. And was able to, I think for me, provide some really great feedback and really kind of validate what myself and the leadership team had been seeing. And I think for me, my thought always is, especially front desk, I'm not up there so much. So it's really hard for me to come. I can make a lot of suggestions, and I see a lot of things in the back, but I don't necessarily see that for the front. So I'm relying on my team leads to guide me on what they're seeing. And then I still have to say with a grain of salt, take what they're saying with a grain of salt. Are they expecting too much? Are they... So it was really good and bad in a way to kind of get this feedback from somebody who's not there all the time.
Right.
And to really validate everything we're seeing. And so for me to pull the two people in and kind of go, well, I know y'all feel like y'all are being picked on by the team leads, but this is a whole separate perspective of somebody who's worked here before, knows what the expectations are, knows how it should go, and her comments are the exact same as what the team leads are saying. So to me, it put a lot more weight. Not that I didn't believe the team leads, but it just, I always wonder if they're kind of just expecting too much or kind of picking on them some. And
Right.
it was really refreshing. Now, the downside is, well, we really do have a problem then. And so how do I approach that problem? So the comments that were made were, they have very low tone. They're disorganized. They're chaotic. The patients can probably sense that. The back assistant will call for an estimate, will go up for the estimate, and then the front desk looks like chicken with their heads cut off. Like there's disorganization. They're not prepared. They're not talking to each other. So it's really just reaffirming. And my issue then becomes, okay, well, what do I do about it? Because that's a big issue. In that, do I have the wrong people on my bus?
Right.
But there are no people at the bus stop. We put out a post lately for several different positions, and there's nobody that I would hire, or even nobody that I could weed through. Like, if you've listened to one of our past podcasts, it's even more dismal than what it was then. And I'm even more like, okay, I've got to hire anybody because it's one of the two that applied and answered my phone call. And now I've got to make sure this person's happy, and I've got to be the one giving everything. So it's really, the word I want to use is probably not appropriate on the podcast. It's really not a good situation.
Yeah.
Expletive, insert here. And so it's defeating.
Yeah.
So I guess for me, I start going, okay, well, what do I do here? Is it really the wrong people? And a comment that really stood out that I was like, ugh. Her comment was, it looks like the people you have don't want to learn anymore and don't want to do any one thing other than what their job description is. I.e., to me, somebody lazy.
Right.
That's the vibe that I get, that the two people at the front desk that are the core of the front desk in the office. Yeah, we've got 2.5 supporting remote people, but the girls that I've got in the office, both of them are being tagged as they don't care. They're basically the feel of they're here for a paycheck and they're not going to do one extra thing.
Which is counter to the office culture that we've really instilled in the team over the years. So that's concerning.
That's concerning. And one of the girls has been there for a while, off and on. And so to me, it's like, does she really need to be off and off for good?
Yeah.
The other one, so for me, I start going, oh God, what do I do with this? Because the feedback has affirmed what I was hoping was not there. And it is there. So then I went, okay, well, then which one goes? Do either one of them go? Because I'm not going to be able to replace that person. That's true in this climate. People, like what you said, people are being poached right and left from offices. People that aren't even looking are getting messages from corporate organizations that have the means to do that. Yeah. Which is a whole nother onion later I hadn't even thought about until you said that. And now the pit in my stomach grows even bigger. So then I said, okay, what do I need to do with this? And I stopped and I went, okay, well, which one of them needs to go then?
Right.
And does either one need to go because I can't replace them? So it's like this multifaceted issue here. If y'all could see me, my hands are covering my face and literally tugging on my hair right now going, okay, well, so I started with one of them and I went, she's not, unless she's really been faking it really well and deserves an Academy Award here for how much she's fooled me over the years. I really do believe that she does want to learn more and she does want to grow. So the statement doesn't quite fit her. Then I went to the second one and I said, if anybody, I would believe this is more on her. But again, I think this person, I've seen this action and this comment and this, I don't think that statement fits her either.
Right.
Well, then what is it then? Because as a team, as a front desk team,
they're giving off this vibe.
And they're totally blowing it.
Yeah.
So then I start going, do they not like each other? Are they not in the right seat on the bus? Is there anything I can do about that? Do they need more training? Or are they not bright enough? Like, which one of these is not, what do I do here? So we had a leadership meeting on Wednesday. So you and I and my 2 team leads had a meeting and we were kind of back to the same thing that we've been talking about for a couple of months now, going, what is the problem here and how do we help them? And really for one of them, both team leads are like, she's got to go. Yeah. And that's the same one that I'm like, well, that's what y'all keep saying. But if she's even helping 25%, would you rather have the 25% or is she a nuisance enough that we get rid of her? Is she creating enough problems that she's not worth it anymore? And y'all keep saying, no, you'd still rather prefer the 25%. So that's kind of a good sign.
Right.
So as far as our team lead meeting on Wednesday, it was the same stuff that they had been complaining about for the last couple of months. And I think you talked with one of them that same week. You talked to her on Tuesday. And so for me, I went, okay, I've been pretty hands off in this and I'm going to get involved now and I'm going to sit and talk with them and see what I can figure out from them, because the 2 team leads are pretty burnt out. Like they've kind of made their assessments. Yeah. And I don't think they really know how to get beyond those assessments other than these 2 really are kind of low tone, lazy, not really pushing through and not that bright. But we need a front desk, so we're dealing with them.
Right.
And I kind of sit there and go, but I don't think they're lazy. The question of how bright, I think they are bright if we put them in the right seat, but the team lead's not able or willing right now to help figure out what they need to do. And I said, for me, I really do believe, unless, again, I'm fooling myself here. And sometimes it does. It takes me a long time to figure out. I guess it's the positive in me to kind of keep.
Well, I think it's a good thing. You're leading out with, and I think it's a good pausing lesson here, that the assumption of the positive, to me, is almost always the right thing to do. Eventually, we may have to change our mind and go, okay, now the facts are enough that I'm going to have to assume the negative. But I think we have consistently, with these two front office members, you and I both, have moved forward with the assumption of the positive. I think if we compare to our team leads, which again, they're seeing evidence of this, lacking performance on a daily basis. They're dealing with the headache of it, but their assumption is the negative. They're going to assume the negative. They are assuming the negative. They have been assuming the negative. And that negative would have led to, if we would have said, hey, this is y'all's decision a few months ago when these complaints started arising, one or both of the front desk would have been gone, and you would be stuck right now with either the miraculous new person that you found, the one person at the bus stop, or nobody. And so I think for right now, especially in this environment, we have to assume the positive and assume the best in our employees. Eventually, we may realize that that was a wrong assumption. At this point in the stage, and again, we may be recording 2 months later and going, well, we assumed the positive and we were wrong. But for now, I think that we are still correct in the assumption of the positive. And that has led to the retention of these employees because they would have been gone a few months ago.
So I think that is a good starting point to go, are these even people we should have on the team? I.e.,
right.
Are they always late and flippant about it? No, these two, one of them is early and on time. The other one's late, but it's legit and she feels bad and she's doing the best she can.
Right.
Could she do better? She could, but it's not like, well, I'm just coming in late and that's that.
Right.
Is it a cultural where somebody on the team that they're stirring the pot? No, these two are not pot stirrers. Mm-mm. Are they stealing? No, not that I'm aware of. Are they rude to patients? No, not that I'm aware of. So all of the core things that team members should have, they have. Mm-hmm. And so that checkbox to me is, yes, I still want them on my bus. Mm-hmm. So next I'm going, okay, but where can I put you? And can I afford to do that? So if it's somebody who's making a high hourly, but you're really only doing one thing well.
Right.
And you don't have the capacity smarts wise to do more things. I hate to put it that way, but so is it a training issue? Is it et cetera? So that's what I'm needing to look at, right?
Right.
So I met with them individually and I said, look, for the one, I sat and I said, I'm going to read you some of the excerpts from this email because you need to know what the vibe is. So I read her the statement and I said, it's funny when I look at y'all as a collective team, the statements apply. It is what it is. It's what I've been hearing. But when I look at you individually, I know you're not that person. I know you do want to learn and grow. So let's talk about what are some of your issues. And it's funny, we spent a lot of money doing a personality, like we talked about our personality plus thing. And you and I have done a lot of personality stuff with the team in the past. And I finally bit the bullet and spent a chunk of change on Scheduling Institute, which I've referenced before. And I'd never done their personality assessment training.
Yeah.
For those of you that have listened to my issues with it in the past, and I've since learned and grown from that. But I finally was like, you know what? I'm going to invest in this training. And we learned a lot about our team. And the goal of that was to give us tools on how to say, okay, well, if this person's strengths are here, then how do I tailor and do that? For the old way, 5-10 years ago, it didn't matter. There were so many staff we could have brought in that I'm not going to spend time getting to know you and tailoring you to this task. Bye. I'm just going to get another one in. Yeah. Well, we're not there anymore. So it made sense to try to
invest now.
And so one thing that came about in that with this team member in particular is she is a detailed oriented person. She does like to research. She does like to have the facts. But then she does all of that and doesn't know what to do with it.
Right.
For somebody like me, I'm like, what do you mean you don't know what to do with it? Like, take it and go. Like, if these facts are there, then clearly this is your next step and I'm going to move towards the next step. But that's my personality. Mm-hmm. In the past, I would have viewed you as lazy.
Right.
That's what that means. You're going to research, but you're not going to do anything with it. You want somebody to hold your hand and take the ball and kick it for you. And I'm not going to do that for you. Now it's eye-opening going, well, it's really kind of an easy fix.
Right.
I've got to do a little bit more on my end. So that's where we came up with this topic for this podcast is, do I want apples in my garden? And do I want lemons? And do I want to also grow herbs? Well, each of those are going to need different things, but I do want the fruits of those. So if I'm not going to spend time watering my plants, then I've got to be okay with going, okay, well then no apples for you. Mm-hmm. But if I want the apples, I'm going to have to spend a little time watering.
Exactly.
So the first question is, do I even want that in my garden?
Yeah.
And so for this team member, yes, I think she can produce fruit. And I think it's fruit that I can benefit from because she does do this well, this well, this well. She's right for the culture of the office. She shows up on time. She's respectful, et cetera, right? So she does all of these things really well. So she's got the seeds, but then she doesn't know what to do with her seeds. So I'm going to have to spend more time creating a checklist for her and saying, hey, these are all the things that you need to do to execute this task, this task, this task. But you don't know what task to do and when, and you don't know how to organize those details. Well, you know what? I'm going to tell you how to do that.
Right.
Now, the old me would have just said, well, then I don't want Fuji apples. I'm going to try for green apples. Maybe those will be different, right? But right now, there are no trees to be bought.
Yeah.
So is it worth it for me to water you?
Yeah.
You know what? That might be pretty easy for me to do. The old me has a chip on my shoulder going, I got to water you too. Like, I got to do all of that. I put you in the shady spot in the grove and I got the right mulch. And now you want me to water you too. Like, I already had the sprinkler system and I got to go get my watering can and pour the water. Like, God bless, you are too much maintenance.
Yeah.
But maybe the maintenance is worth it.
Exactly.
And is she really that much maintenance for all the fruit she's going to produce?
Right.
So we were laughing because I coined that or thought of that this morning. And I was like, you know what? Yes, you're absolutely worth it. Yes, I will. So what she and I talked about on Thursday.
This employee
and I talked about on Thursday where we were going through this email of this comments and kind of going through like, what tasks do you think you do well? And where do you think your challenges are and all of that?
Well, and I want to pause you before you get into that. So you decided after that, the email from our remote person that came in, you decided, hey, I'm going to get involved in this. I'm going to have conversations with both of these employees and I'm going to be real honest with them. So the conversation that you're about to reference with this employee came out of you deciding I'm engaging in this now.
Right. Because I think we got the email. Was it last week? Was she here or the week before? One of those. It was recently. Yeah. No, it was the week before. So it's been about 2 weeks now since the employee was in the office, sent her email. Then we had our team leadership meeting this past Wednesday. Yeah. And we were talking about, what do we do about this? Because even this remote person saw this and blah, blah, blah. And then at that team lead meeting Wednesday, I was like, you know what? I'm disappointed by this feedback. But when I really think about these people, I want to investigate this a little bit more. So it was me mentally going, are they the right people on the bus? Do they check box these certain criteria? Yes, they do. And that's what I was just referencing about. They belong, the cultural things that I can't train are there. Respect and getting along with the team and all of that. So it's not a training issue for do you belong in our office? So what is the issue? So I kind of said, my team leads are burnt out. You've already had a conversation with one.
Yes.
And I'm going to come in now and really try to narrow it down a little bit more. Yeah. And so I met with them on Thursday because the schedule was slower and I had time and I pulled one in and I said, okay. And before I did that, actually, this is because we actually had a team lead meeting 2 weeks ago.
Right.
And one of the things that came from that was it was the same thing. Like, why are they not performing? Why are they so low tone? So I I text messaged both of them, and I said, hey, we're about to reshuffle tasks. Tell me what it is that you think you do very well.
Yes.
And that you think, like, we've got the person that if there's a billing question, we reach out to so-and-so, and we've got a materials question. This is this person, right? There's different people in the office that are kind of your experts on different things. So what do you think you are the expert in that somebody, because I wanted to see, what do they think they're good at? And
Right.
I hope you think you're good at something, and you should be. And then if you put something on a list that you think you're good at, and in our team lead meetings, we're going, she stinks at this, then there you go. We have a problem, and we need to dissect what your definition of good is and what our definition of good is. And so it gives some dialogue and ability to talk about that.
And let me say something here too, because I feel like there's a lot of things that I don't want the listeners to miss here. Multiple forms of communication are happening in this process. So I feel like sometimes when we notice an underperforming employee, a practice owner might think, I just need to have this one conversation. This one mistake needs to be pointed out, and then all is going to be well in the world. And that's just not the way that management goes. To the point that your management team, your leadership team at this point is burnt out with these two. You and I are stepping in and engaging more. It started 2 weeks ago with just a simple text message to start some of the dialogue, followed by me meeting with one of the team members, now followed by you engaging in a one-on-one conversation with each of these. I just want to make that really clear that this is over, multiple attempts, starting with our leadership team, attempts they have made with them. Now it's to us kind of stepping in and trying to do more of this, but in multiple ways. So I want to make sure that's really clear. It started with a text message a couple weeks ago to find out what they're strong in. And now it's kind of led to more conversations.
So, and also the old me would have been like, hey, apparently you're not documenting this, and you sent this email that was with an inaccurate estimate, and now so-and-so and so-and-so have wasted time doing this. So I don't really understand why you're not doing this estimate right. Like, talk to me about what's going on and what the issue is. That would have been something along the lines of what the old me would have done. The new me is more, what are you doing well? Why do you think you're doing it well? And then let me give you these examples, and let's talk about what happened in that. Even yesterday, and this has nothing to do with the front desk, but this was an employee that in the morning, my associate was like, man, look at her leaving this really great note. Like, we don't expect that out of this one because her notes are usually not good. And he was like, look at that. And then by the afternoon, there was another incident that it was like, can she even hear us? Because we're asking for an x-ray of tooth S. She just took one of L. And then she came in and told me, when I said, well, this is what I want a treatment plan, she walked into the office and said, well, the associate just said something different. And then I'm sitting there going, that doesn't make any sense altogether. Well, it turns, so both of us were like, I came inches close to saying, go home.
Yeah.
Because something's happened in the afternoon that you are not focusing. Then a second incident happened where I'm like, we both just looked at each other like, what is wrong with her? And I came very close to sending her home.
Yeah.
And it turns out, luckily, I stopped and I brought her in and I said, hey, you did really well this morning. So we know you were on it this morning. But then in the afternoon, this just happened. And now this just happened. Like, really stupid stuff. Where is your head? Turns out neither one was her fault. It was communication from other team members. And she ended up being the face of it.
Oh, wow.
And we would have gone home going, this one is. So it's important to have these conversations and not assume, I guess, is my point.
It goes back to assuming the positive.
Well,
taking a moment and...
And I wasn't positive.
Yeah.
I mean, that wasn't my intention. My intention was to say, because I'm going to bite your head off in the next week, and it's starting today because it started with this. And next week when I bite your head off, you're going to think I've lost my mind, but you're the one who've lost your mind because of these mistakes. But I'm not going to let it brew up. I've pulled you in. And oh gosh, it's a good thing I did, because it was these other teammates that set you up for failure. But in my mind, you were the face of it. And it's a good thing that we clarify that. So my point in saying that is I want to know from their perspective, because again, I've got two people that I know want to do well.
Right.
if that's not the person you have, then yeah, that's a whole different conversation. They need to be off the bus, and you're not going to go and have these multiple layers of conversation and communication if it's not a person that culturally belongs on your team. They don't meet
Correct.
your needs. So that's a whole different topic. But these are people that you're like, no, I hired you for a reason and you really do well in these couple of things. And it's these things. So I really want to hear their perspective to make sure that what is your perception of why did you do the steps you did?
Right.
So that's how we started with, the one on Thursday. I pulled her in and I said, well, this is what's being said. I know Bethany's talked to you about this. Tell me about, and it turns out in the one's case, I mean, it's good and sad all at the same time.
Yeah.
but it alerted me to kind of what I needed to see. So she's capable of doing all of these things. And remember, she's the one who, even on team strength builder training from Scheduling Institute Day, she's your researcher. She just doesn't know what to do with it. Now that's frustrating to me, but I kind of, as I'm dialoguing with her, I said, from the type A's of the team, which is our team leads and me, you come across as lazy and not smart. But I do believe you're smart, and I don't believe you're lazy. And yet that's the projection you're giving, even from this remote person coming in. So what is it? And the analogy we discussed, I said, you're kind of doing it to yourself. Because she keeps saying, it's just a lot. I'm overwhelmed. Well, why are you overwhelmed? We've not added anything new. In fact, we've made a lot of things easier when we drop medicating. You don't have to do a lot of the admin stuff there. And we've got text to check in, and we've got like all of these other technologies that's there to help, and yet you're still overwhelmed. So what is it? Because you don't seem dull and you don't seem lazy. So what is it? Well, it turns out, like I said, I think what's happening is we have a busy day and you're running through the motions of that day. And then there's a subset of things you're not caught up on.
Right.
And then the next day you jump into another busy day and you just keep falling behind. And she goes, yeah, that's what's happening. So my question to her was, well, why don't you stay an extra hour? Because we get done by 4. You're not staying later than 4 or 4:30. Why don't you stay an extra hour? Why don't you, on Wednesdays, we start later? Why don't you come in an extra? We've told you that that's an option for you to do that. And Bethany, for me, again, I'm pulling my hair out going, and my team leads too are pulling their hair out going, we have told them, you can come in on Mondays to catch up. You can come in on Wednesdays to catch up. Neither one of you shows up.
Right.
So that's why you come across as lazy. And the type A's of us are going, we would have said, hey, I'm coming in this day. I would have organized myself so I could get these tasks done. And the fact that you don't do that, what else are we to think but you're lazy? You don't want to come in. And in that moment on Thursday, I was like, aha, you're not lazy. You really don't know what to do with yourself. And that's like opposite of myself and opposite of the team lead. So it's taking me a minute to pause and go, that's really weird.
Yeah.
But then the analogy who we worked out was, you are running yourself ragged on the field. And from our viewpoint, our meaning the leader's viewpoint, we have set a pitcher of ice cold water on the bench, and we've set some cups there, and we've said, hey, players on the soccer field, as you're getting tired, go get you a sip of water and replenish. Right? That's the extra hours we've said, come in Wednesday morning, come in Monday, come in at this time. Like, you've got opportunities, take them. And we're the people on the soccer field who are going, I'm tired. You know what? Let me go get me some water, and I'll go get my water. And you're the person on the soccer field who's still out there running.
Yeah.
So you've not stopped and walked off the field. You've not had a temper tantrum on the field. I'm not going to work this hard. That's not you. I realize now you don't realize when you can go get a sip of water. You're probably on the soccer field going, I'm tired. When should I go? Oh, well, she just went. Now I can't leave too because she's gone to go get water. So I better stay on the field and keep playing. Oh, somebody else went to go get water. Can I get water at any time? Can I use those cups? Is that water for me? Can I fill the cup half or should I fill it whole? So it's occurring to me that you don't know that you can go get water. And that's mind-boggling to me.
Right.
But it is a personality thing that now I'm stopping to go, if I just stopped and told you,
Go get water.
go get water at 3:05 and at 3:20. Those are your 2 slots, and fill the cup all the way. That's when you're going to go. Then she's going to do exactly what I've asked her to do. She's going to realize 3:05, great, I'm going to go get my water. She's going to pour her cup of water, drink it, and come back refreshed on the soccer field. So that analogy to me, I was like, oh my God, because to me, you know, again, if it was a person that didn't belong on the team, she would have stormed off and left, or she would have gone, you all can't go drink water. I've got to be. So she's not a diva.
No.
She's not stupid. She knows the water's there, even though to me on the outset, it looks dumb. Why are you so dumb that you can't go get a cup of water? Well, it's not that. In her mind, she's weighing out all of these other things, and she's just not sure.
And she's waiting for somebody to lead her to what she needs to do.
Yeah.
She
And
is...
those of us that are self-starters
Yeah.
and that are leaders, we cannot see that. That looks lazy to us. And so it was really eye-opening for me in that moment to go, oh my gosh, it's not laziness.
Yeah.
She really just needs the nudge to go get the water. And if I choose to continue to believe it's laziness, then I'm always going to have a chip on my shoulder about
Right.
it. But if I'm like, you know what, tree? You've got the seeds. Let me just water you. You're right. Let me just give you a little bit of water. But then you're going to score the goal and you're going to be defensive and offensive. Like, this could actually be a really good thing if I would just change my mindset.
Yeah.
So I blew my own mind on Thursday. I was like, whoa, oh my gosh. Like, this is actually quite easy. I can do this. And then I pulled the other one in, and it was kind of similar where she's just not an organized thinker. And she's another one too, where I was like, okay, I'm not going to get a tree full of apples,
Right.
but I might get a watermelon. I might get one watermelon. So is the one watermelon worth it? Well, I love watermelon. I don't want to go without the watermelon. So it's really on me to go, well, either you're not going to get any melon this season.
Right.
And so are you okay with that? Or do you really want to produce something, and is it worth it to you? And in her case, I'm like, I'm not going to be expected for her to be able to be a whiz at 5 different tasks. It really is only going to be 3.
Right.
But are those 3 important tasks? Yes. So I'm going to have to maintain her in a different way than Miss Apple Tree over there. But do I want the fruit? And so at the end of the day, like, am I sitting at a garden with only apples?
Yeah.
And so how my analogy back to the office or the comparison then would be, well, there's no other employees to be had. They're all being poached. Somebody's going to want the watermelon. So
Right.
either I'm going to take it or not. Is it worth letting go? And if it's worth letting go, my next step is I'm going to have to cut the schedule down.
Yeah.
So am I willing to work with this one a little bit more and lead her to it and help her grow? But damn if she isn't going to produce a really good watermelon. It's not going to be a bunch of things, but it's going to be one good one. Or could I just do it myself and live without the watermelon? Well, I kind of want the watermelon right now.
Yeah.
So she's one that I'm like, okay, so I'm going to have to water that one, 3 times a week. And this one I'm going to have to water 5 times a week and change the mulch twice. Am I willing to do that? Yes, for the output I am. So in the office, am I going to, if I lose her, there's no other person that I'm going to hire right now. And we're going to have to shrink the schedule down.
We're going to have to scale back.
And for me right now, she brings enough good. The watermelon's tasty enough that it is worth the extra trouble.
Right.
And managing my expectations that this is not going to be a grove of watermelons. It's going to be 1, maybe 2. And am I okay with that at this point? And so I have decided that I am. And then even down to, I'm just shaking my head going, I don't understand how people function this way. But they do, and they're different from me, and it's okay. So her comment to me, when I said, well, why don't you come in on the Wednesdays? And why don't you come in on the Mondays? Because in her old job, that's what she was doing. She was getting more than 40 hours a week. And in mine, she's barely getting 32 in a week. Yeah. And I said, I'm not trying to get into your finances, but that seems weird to me. Like, either your husband's gotten a promotion, or you've learned, a lot of people in COVID have learned to do without and learned to live on less. Yeah. So maybe that's her. And maybe that extra time that you've got is worth it to spend with your family. Yeah. And she went, yeah, I'm kind of loving having the every other Mondays. I was like, well, do you want every Monday off? Well, no, I do. So she does need the income there.
Yeah.
And I said, well, what about Wednesdays? And her response was, I actually kind of burn a lot of time and gas. And I said, what do you mean? She says, well, on Wednesdays, my girls, I still have to get them dropped off to school. And she lives in one district. And anyway, so she goes, yeah, it takes me a while and I'm wasting a lot of gas dropping them off by 7:15. But then I go back home. So I'm wasting the gas money because it's not down the street from her, apparently.
Right.
So she used to go, for those of you guys that are in Dallas, like apparently she lives in Denton, but she's driving her kids out to Carrollton for school. So she's dropping them off by 7:15 in Carrollton, driving all the way back to Denton, and then coming all the way back to Irving, which is close to Carrollton, to be at work by 10:45. And I'm like, okay, so you basically get 2 hours of getting stuff done at home, but you're spending a lot of time and gas being wasted. I didn't even say that. She said it. She said, I am dropping the girls. And then I guess I do waste this time. And I guess I could come to the office and get a lot more done. And I said, well, what are you getting done in that time? Yeah, I have this appointment and this appointment, but I could change those to another day. Yes. You could. You could change it. And one of them, I knew what she was talking about. We have a not a wellness coach. What is she? A
Counsel. I mean, she's.
Yeah, but we call her our development coach.
Yeah.
So call it counseling if you will or whatever. But I found a counselor, a therapist. But some people want to work on goal setting or whatever they want to work on. So she's meeting with this person on Wednesdays. And I said, well, she's available on weekends. She's available in the evenings. You're off every other Monday. She's available on Mondays. You just need to coordinate that with her. Yeah, I think I'll do that. So it's mind-boggling to me that this person for herself. So when I'm mad that you're not thinking outside the box for the office, you for yourself won't think outside the box.
Right.
And so again, for us dentists that are type A and we're going, and we make things happen, this person doesn't even know how to make things happen for logistics in her own life.
Right.
I had to lead her to that. But when it is, now she's going, yes. That makes sense. I'll move that appointment. I'll work Wednesdays because I said, maybe you don't need the income. She goes, no, I think it's good. I said, okay, so do you want to do that every other Wednesday? Or no, I'll take the Wednesdays. It had never occurred to her to shuffle things around to make it more strategic for herself.
Well, and to throw another little layer on that was one of the frustrations with the leadership team, with the ones that are kind of done with her, because we had mentioned Wednesdays to her to this employee on multiple occasions. And even just that week before, one of our leaders had mentioned, well, why don't you come in on Wednesday and do that? And this lady that we're talking about said, well, I've got this appointment. I've got that appointment, basically giving off the impression to the team lead, well, I can't come in because I've booked Wednesday mornings with appointments. So even for that, it's like they're perceiving a laziness. She's unwilling to come in and actually spend the extra time. But really, when you dug into it with her, it was just having an open enough conversation that it had not occurred to her for her own life to switch things around so that she could be here on those Wednesday mornings. I mean, again, it's all in those conversations that she came off one way to them. You were just slowed it down enough that she could actually process her own life and reorient around the schedule that she needed to work.
It's like this bulb went off in her head. Like I could literally see the light up where she's like, oh, I could still get my appointment done. I can still make more money. I actually save gas. But she hadn't stopped to think about that on her own and be more strategic with herself. And again, that's not right or wrong. It doesn't mean that she's not an intelligent person, but it's just perhaps her personality again. And some of us are very driven towards efficiency. And I would say there's many of us as dentists too who are not, and who don't think about, those things. I had a dear friend who would help me in the office some, but we kind of, would butt heads a little bit because she would ask me for hours in the office and say, hey, you told me I could work 2 days a week, 2 days a month in your practice, because we had talked about that. And from my side, I was like, yeah, you're available. You want to work? Great. Well, she wanted like Wednesdays in May. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, but we need you in the summer. And she was like, but I'm not available in the summer. And so initially I was like, okay, you want to have your cake and eat it too. And what kind of friend is that? That you're not really being my friend because you're revolving around yourself. But when I dug in a little bit deeper, I don't think she really saw it that way. She saw it as I'm available, but because she never owned a practice, she didn't realize the financial implications of being open on a Wednesday, that the production's going to be low.
Right.
And in the summer, so to me, it was very obvious. Why wouldn't you want, I should have all of these people that help me fighting each other to be there for me, to work with me on President's Day, Columbus Day, spring break. You would think that, these dentists would be the ones to be saying, no, if I can only be there one day, the higher production day is that day. That's the day I want.
Right.
But all of them have never been practice owners, and they've never thought about it from that angle. Mm-hmm. And I'm going on vacation over spring break. And I'm like, yeah. So in her eyes, I look like the bee and the not good friend because I won't give her the Wednesday.
Right.
And in my mind, I'm like, you're the bee. You're the one being selfish because you're not helping over spring break. So it just really is different perspectives. And for me, in my mind, for the couple of months that I was like, you are taking advantage of our friendship. And then assuming the negative. Yeah. And it took me a minute then in some conversation, something she said, and I was like, oh, she thinks I'm the
aware.
bee.
Yeah.
Yeah, she thinks I'm the bee because she's not getting from a production standpoint.
Yeah. The impact of it. So it's not just even our employees that we might be having some of these almost out of body experiences with. It's almost like there's just certain perspectives that every single person has. And even just this week with these two employees, there was a certain perspective being built around them. Opinions were being developed, things were being said, and you were able to have these two illuminating conversations, not only for you, but for them. And to me, it goes back to your analogy of, is it worth watering these trees? Do we really want this fruit in our garden? And yes, we do. We not only do we want the fruit, we need the fruit in the garden, but we're having to change the way that we're approaching them. And do they require a little bit more investment? Do they require a little bit more hand holding? Are we going to have to tailor the way that we take care of them so that they can produce more fruit? Yes. But is it worth that? Yes. So I think they walked away from those conversations with some very good concrete things that they're taking away. Even the one that's rearranging her Wednesdays, and she's going to be working those Wednesday mornings to get caught up on her list. Number one, she's going to be more successful with the tasks that we've given her because she has time now to get that done. She's going to save herself gas money in the process. She's going to earn more on her paycheck. It's a win-win-win all of the way around. And even though we had kind of laid that thought out before her, you can work Wednesdays. Hey, Wednesdays are available. She just hadn't taken the time or had the conversation to be able to connect all the dots together and rearrange her life.
The guidance to do that.
Guidance, yeah.
And again, so for me and the team leads, we're all very much, we don't need that much guidance. We're going to go create our own paths.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we're smarter or less lazy or whatever. That's just how our makeup works. Yeah. And the other thing I was saying, I don't know if I said it already on this podcast or if I said it to you before we started recording. I kind of like that, if we had a very I this, I that person at the front desk too, they might actually butt heads with the leadership team.
Right.
And the two we've got are very respectful and peaceful and mindful. They're just not go-getters. Mm-hmm. But I see, initially where it's like, yeah, you're not go-getting for the office. You're not go-getting for yourself either.
Yeah.
It was strange. And so that's just different personalities.
Exactly.
And so, we've talked a lot about that, and it just, yet again, here you go again.
Here it comes again.
So now one of them, I'm looking to hire a whole nother person because initially my thought is these people are not smart enough, not motivated enough. That's what have been working under the assumption the last couple of months. And now I'm like, wait a minute. Mm-hmm. They just need a little nudge and a little organization to say, this is where we're going. And now, like you said, win-win-win. Because for me, now it's evident I don't need to hire another person.
Right.
One of them, I assumed that the reason she wasn't coming in on Mondays was because of childcare issues. She's like, I don't have childcare issues. I've got this, this, and this. And I was like, so do you want to work more Mondays? And she's like, I'd love to work more. So again, I kind of wanted to thunk her in the head and go, why didn't you say that? But that she's not a go-getter as such. She's a peacekeeper. She's going to do what she's told. And as a leadership team, none of us think that way. So we weren't being very sensitive to that
Right.
side.
We were going forward with the assumption if she needed hours, wanted to work, she would do it. But she didn't. Right? I mean, that's what's baffling about this is our assumption is that she would behave like we would behave.
Right.
She needs if we needed the hours, we would work the hours. We would make it happen. We would ask and get the appropriate permission and we would just do it. That's not her. That's not her. She's going to wait to be directed in that direction or to be, for her to know that that was an option for her. And we never really told her that that was an option. Or if we did tell her, it was kind of in one passing conversation where we talked about a lot of other things and she didn't take that and run with it like we thought that she would. So,
And I, even 6 months ago, I probably would have said, well, you want me to come to your house and pick you up too? You want me to blow your nose for you? What do you want me to do? Like, that's what I think, because I'm like, I've given you all the tools and you're not taking it and using it, and I'm done with that. And really, Thursday was kind of an eye-opener for myself to go, I can't understand why you wouldn't take it and run. Like, I'm so not built that way. But it was a great eye-opener for me to go, well, I could either, downgrade you in my mind and go, you're lazy, you're this, or I could say, could I just water you a little bit more and look at all this fruit I'm going to get?
right.
And I just hadn't done that. Or if I have, it's just been, I blew my own mind.
Yeah.
And so now I'm really excited because now the win-win is she's going to be there every Monday. She wants to be there. She wants the income. I have plenty for you to do. Is she smart enough to do it? If I just tell her what to do, she's going to thrive.
And that's part of the watering too. She's not going to show up on Monday with her trying to figure out what to do on that day. She's going to show up with hey, this is A, B, and C. Once you've got A, B, and C, then here's D, E, and F. So that's part of that watering. We're going to give her some structure for that day so she can be really productive with it.
Yeah, 5-10 years ago, I would have said bye-bye because I don't have the time to water you. And really, there's 5 more of you that I could pull in that I don't have to water. We're not in that landscape anymore. The landscape, get it? Pun intended there. Yeah. And then we have the other one that still wants to keep her every other Mondays, but she's going to come in Wednesdays. And frankly, do I have enough work for her to do and the kind of work that she'll excel in? Remember, she's the watermelon. So I can't give her anything because she's not going to be able to do all of that. But if I can handpick what I need to do for her. So now I don't have to hire another employee. Right. My leadership team should be happy because now they're going to get the people get the tasks done that need to be done properly. And the 2 team members are going to be happy because now they're getting more hours and they still had the freedom to pick. I didn't delegate this one and say, sorry, we're pulling all your Mondays, not that you're used to not. I still allowed her to have the freedom. So she's going to have every other Monday and she's going to have more hours Wednesday and we're going to tailor that. So there you go. I think I'm excited that I've got a garden that I think is going to work now. Now, like you said, listeners, we may be coming back in a month and going, well, that was dumb. It didn't work at all. And my garden's still dry.
This is very fresh.
This is very fresh because it just happened like 2 days ago. But I'm very excited because I think the possibilities are there. And it's just a little bit of tweaking and a little bit of mind changing for me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Good. So, okay, I guess our closing comment to all of our listeners are go find you some watering cans, right?
Go get you some fruit.
Go get you some fruit.
Thanks for joining the conversation today. We hope that you are comforted in knowing that you are not alone, but we also hope that you're walking away with some really great tips and tricks to try in your practice. We value your feedback, so please take a few moments to rate and review the podcast. Finally, we want to make sure that we're covering the topics that matter to you. So track us down on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and let us know what topics you want us to cover. As always, please know that we are rooting for you today as you manage your dental drama.